Norway, a land of fjords, Viking legends, and centuries of royal tradition. But did you know that the Norwegian royal family as we know them today only began just over 100 years ago? Today we are diving deep into the history of the royal family, and we'll be looking at how it started and which key figures shaped it into the monarchy it is today. The roots of the Norwegian royal family date back to King Harald V. Harald V reigned from approximately 872 to 930 and is credited for having first unified Norway into one kingdom. Harald V inherited several smaller kingdoms from his father Halvdan the Black. He officially became King of Norway after the Battle of Havarsfjord. The naval battle resulted in a great victory for Harald, after which he declared himself King of the Norwegians. Harald died in around 932 and was succeeded by his son Erik Bloodaxe. The framework for the monarchy followed in 1163 with the introduction of the Norwegian law of succession. In the years after King Harald's death, Norway was ruled wholly or in part by his descendants. The next milestone in the history of Norway was the formation of the Kalmar Union. This was a personal union in Scandinavia ruled by a single monarch. Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, however, remained separate sovereign states. The union was created by Queen Margaret I of Denmark. Margaret was also known as the Lady King for her excellent leadership skills. With just a few minor interruptions, the Kalmar Union lasted until 1523. In 1523, Gustav Vasa was elected King of Sweden. His election was a result of the Swedish War of Liberation, in which he declared himself its leader. His victory resulted in the deposition of Christian II as King of Sweden, and consequently Sweden seceded the Kalmar Union. What followed next for Norway was a joint Danish-Norwegian state. This real union would last until the 19th century. The union's capital was Copenhagen, and it was ruled by the members of the House of Oldenburg. 1814 was a turbulent year for Norway and its people. On the 14th of January of that year, the country was ceded to Sweden through the Treaty of Kiel. The treaty ended the hostilities between Great Britain and Ireland, with Sweden on one side and Denmark and Norway on the other side. The hostilities were a result of the ongoing Napoleonic Wars, in which the Kingdom of Denmark and Norway allied with the French Empire. The decision to hand over Norway to Sweden sparked a flood of nationalism within the country. Back then, Sweden was seen as a rival to Norway, so it comes to no surprise that the new union caused discontent. In May 1814, a new constitution was established, and Christian Frederick was made King of Norway. Christian Frederick was the Danish representative in Norway, as well as first cousin and heir apparent to the Danish King Frederick VI. The independent monarchy of 1814, however, was short-lived. The newly established state did not gain any international recognition, and after a quick 2-week war with Sweden was defeated. Consequently, Christian Frederick was forced to abdicate. After the independence movement failed, Norway was forced into a new union with Sweden, a personal union that would last until 1905. Although the independent monarchy failed, some changes were made. Norway was allowed to stay partially autonomous and keep most of their new constitution. Until 1818, the union was ruled by Charles II of the House of Holstein-Gottorp. As he had no surviving children, he adopted Jean-Baptiste Jules Bernadotte. Bernadotte was a former marshal of the empire under Napoleon. Due to a chain of circumstances, he was unexpectedly made heir presumptive of the union. From then on, he was known as Karl Johan. He became King of Sweden and Norway in 1818, and with his ascension, the House of Bernadotte was founded. The reign of the House of Bernadotte in Norway would last until the dissolution of the Union in 1905. In Sweden, the house rules up until this day. Nationalism in Norway rose throughout the 19th century, and with that, the dissatisfaction with the Swedish-Norwegian Union grew, especially regarding their foreign policy. You see, legally Norway was an independent state with its own parliament, legal system, flag, and currency. Only the monarch and the foreign policy were shared. Throughout the century, the two countries developed different interests. While Sweden limited their imports and maximized their exports, Norway was more dependent on importing goods. In addition, Norwegian politics were more liberal, while the Swedish tended to be more conservative. All things came to a height in 1905, and on June 7th, the Storting, Norwegian's parliament, proclaimed the dissolution of the union with Sweden. King Oscar II accepted the decision and peacefully abdicated the throne of Norway. The Storting had their eyes on Prince Karl of Denmark as new king of Norway. However, the Danish prince insisted on letting the people of Norway choose their new monarch. And so the parliament started a referendum. The people of Norway were called to the bullets on whether Norway should invite Prince Karl of Denmark to become King of Norway. The results couldn't have been clearer. Almost 80% of the people voted for the Danish prince. The throne was officially offered to Prince Karl on the 18th of November 1905. 1 week later, the new royal family entered their new country. Prince Karl took on the regnal name Haakon VII and was officially crowned in 1906 alongside his wife Queen Maud. With his ascension, the reign of the House of Glücksborg began. The House of Glücksborg sits on the throne of Norway until this day. Haakon VII became a popular monarch and a symbol for Norwegian nationalism and resistance. During the Second World War, Norway was occupied by Nazi Germany, and Haakon was forced to flee to Great Britain. He refused to abdicate during this time and only returned to Norway in June 1945. Haakon VII reigned until his death in 1957 at the age of 85. He is regarded as one of the greatest leaders of the pre-war period. Olav V followed his father onto the throne. Olav V was born as Prince Alexander of Denmark in 1903. He was only 2 years old when his father took over the Norwegian throne. As such, his parents made sure to teach him Norwegian culture and tradition. Olav was described as down-to-earth, which gained him the nickname Folkekongen, which translates to the people's king. Olav V reigned until his death in 1991. Onto the throne followed Norway's current king, Harald V. Harald was born in Norway in 1937 to his father Olav and his mother Princess Meta of Sweden. Through his mother, he, his children, and grandchildren are therefore descendants of the House of Bernadotte, who ruled Norway in its Swedish Union. Harald's childhood was marked by the Second World War. He consequently grew up in Sweden and the US. After the family returned to Norway, he enrolled in a public school. He then studied at the University of Oslo and eventually attended the Norwegian Military Academy. At 23, he entered Balliol College in Oxford, where he studied history, economics, and politics. In private, Harald is a keen rower and sailor. He represented Norway at several Olympic Games and has won bronze, silver, and gold medals. After 9 years of dating, Harald was allowed to marry commoner Sonja Haraldsen in 1968. The couple have 2 children together. Their son Haakon is the current crown prince of Norway. Harald ascended the throne in 1991 and as such became the first Norwegian king to be born in the country in 604 years. Harald uses his reign to modernize the royal house. He began bringing the royal family closer to the people by opening their palaces to the public. Harald is currently 88 years old and is the oldest monarch in over 1,150 years of Norwegian monarchy. Harald V's son, Crown Prince Haakon, is first in line to the throne. He has been married to Mette-Marit since 2001. Together they have 2 children, their daughter Ingrid Alexandra and Sverre Magnus, who are second and third in line to the throne. Norway introduced absolute primogeniture in 1990, so Princess Ingrid Alexandra ranks above her younger brother. With that said, it is highly likely that Princess Ingrid Alexandra will one day become the first female monarch in over 600 years since Queen Margaret reigned over the Kalmar Union.